Hi guys, Martin from Belief. In this video we're going to look at the frequently asked questions module that's made available in the Mortgage Broker framework. It's a really broad introduction, so we're not going to go into the specifics or nuances or styling and so on. It's just what it is and how it works. The FAQ module on our own website will kind of detail how it's used and how to modify the behaviour of the FAQ module. So first of all, let's look at the FAQ module. This is made available on all sites. It's loaded initially with about 80 or 90 frequently asked questions. Very similar setup to your blog. I'll just pull the blog up here in another tab. A blog is kind of evergreen, opinion-based or news-related content as such. It tends to become a little outdated and it has a fixed point in time most of the time, whereas frequently asked questions are, as you would expect, a question and an answer. Most of it is evergreen or cornerstone. There are exceptions, particularly with first-home buyer grants and information on rate information and so on. That changes all the time. So the blog listed here is set up in a similar way, and to get to the frequently asked questions you can just select that module, and Insights is another module which is very new, and I'll come to talk about that in another video. So the way the frequently asked question module works is, as I said, there's a question and an answer. So if we just look at what is lender's mortgage insurance, pull that up, it's a question and an answer. There's integrated content such as the video. There's another video of ours that details how to assign a video to the top of every single frequently asked question. And in my opinion, look, video is the bee's knees, right? It just works, it converts, it engages, and it works better than text content. So I tend to encourage guys to have a video on every single frequently asked question. We only load about 80 or 90 most of the time. If you're a property client, there's about 160 frequently asked questions. Now, for brokers, creating 80 videos will take, each video is 2 minutes. They don't have to be polished, they don't have to be great. They just sit down, throw yourself in front of a mobile phone, record something. Something's better than nothing. You can polish them up later. If you do a video day with me, we generally have quite polished videos. We do them out in locations and sets and so on, and we make them really good. Do not add the snap, crackle, pop features to them. So don't throw in all the, dings and bings and bongs, and you've probably seen these videos floating around in a TikTok style of format because they don't work. Particularly as evergreen videos on your website, they have the opposite effect to that, which is intended. They will drive people away. You look like a bozo. So they impact upon your brand in a really negative way. And that applies for advertising as well, but that's not the point. So notice integrated calendars, integrated calculators here within the content itself. So they become a dynamic resource. You do link to various other FAQs and so on, and like every page on your website, there's a calendar integrated contact form down the bottom. The FAQ module is really significant and it's huge. We introduced this, I think, in 2018 or around 2018 or so, and it was on the back of about 1 million page views. We created an FAQ module on half a dozen really highly trafficked sites and watched the traffic, and it quadrupled the conversions like literally overnight. These websites were already highly trafficked, so getting the traffic, and the FAQ module just amplified that in really seriously significant ways. So what's the significance of it? Like, how is it used? Now, if I pull up the first home buyer page, I'm just going to scroll down here. So here are first home buyer frequently asked questions, and there's a bunch of accordions here which are FAQs. Again, these hover effects and the styles and all those sorts of things can be modified very, very easily, and you can do that site-wide. So you can just define one style that's used globally across all assets, because these are used on street pages, geographic pages, virtually everywhere. Accordions are used everywhere now. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. So the way it works is, here's the LMI FAQ. If I click on that, it's going to take me to the LMI FAQ. that we just looked at. And it really does create engagement. It bounces people around. It creates funnel pathways, which are more important than anything else. Like, there's no question about it. The FAQ module we've built improves upon your conversions probably more than anything else we've ever done, and the industry hasn't caught up with this. Like, we've got a free plugin on our website which integrates this with your website and integrates this feature and creates all these panels and all sorts of things. But nobody uses them, and they should, because it contributes towards those SEO attributes that Google talks about, EAT, and our own Magic Lantern module, you know, the education, the experience, the entertainment, and I always forget the fourth. The experience. So it contributes towards those 4 E attributes and demonstrates that authoritativeness which is necessary for the trust to build. Because you're showcasing, you know, your expertise, you're providing information and a high level of education. It's just absolutely necessary. Now, here's another block of FAQs. This is a big first home buyer block, and then there's a small one for home and land packages. That's on the first home buyer page. If we had a look, for example, at the investment page, there's another big block of FAQs and so on. To give you a contrast, let's pull up the agricultural page, and there's only one question for what is agricultural finance. There's only one listed there, and I'll show you that in a moment. And what is private lending? Private lending is something that has to be built upon. Not many brokers really focus on that, but if you want to, you add a few FAQs and they automatically appear here. And that's kind of the point of these FAQ pages, is that as you add a page, they will automatically be added to the FAQ stack on each page. So let's have a look at how to create an FAQ. Here we go. All the FAQs are listed within your dashboard, BM FAQs on the left-hand side there, and there's a whole bunch of FAQs that we've created here. And to edit those, you edit it as you would any post. So I'll just click on the third page here. All right, I'll just select edit there, and it just brings up the standard edit page. You just go through and edit this as necessary. Now, the important part here is we've assigned this to FAQ categories of advanced consideration, government regulations. And there's a whole bunch of different categories there, of which you can add more if you like. That becomes relevant. You can add categories. So as we add more FAQs, and I'll add a dummy FAQ in a moment, which will be added to the first home buyer stack maybe. Actually, I'll add one to the private lending stack, because it's easier to see it grow from 1 to 2. So here we do have a page on private lending. It's not listed in the primary menu, but if you access the top level home loan and finance, it will take you to a page which makes that available. So let's go through and actually create a dummy post. I'll call it just demo test FAQ, and I'll just repeat that as the content, and I'll just do that. Now, again, if I just save this, it's going to be added to the general category. There is a general category in here somewhere, which is kind of the default category, but you want to add it to those categories where it is most relevant. And in this case, we said we were going to add it to private lending. All I'm going to do is select private lending here on the right-hand side, and I'm going to publish that. We haven't got a, I should assign, just for the sake of completeness, I'll just assign an image as the frequently asked question, so it pops up, in case it pops up in various places. I'll just stick a picture of a nurse, because the image is completely irrelevant. It's just for demonstration purposes. So if all goes to plan, the caching can be a bit of a problem here, because it takes a couple of minutes. Where were we? On agricultural pages. So here's our panel on private lending. If I refresh that page, hopefully we've got 2 FAQ accordions now. And we'll see in just a moment. scroll down. There we go, test demo test FAQ up the top. And if I click on that link, it will take me to the FAQ we just created. It's really simple to do, guys, and it is super important. Like, the FAQs are just the backbone of your information archives. It's kind of like a knowledge base as such, and it can be used everywhere. Now, while we've used accordions here, I'll just interrupt myself and say, while we've used accordions here, these FAQs can be rendered in different ways. For example, and I'm not going to go into them in this video, for example, on our calculator archive page, these are called panels. Now, every aspect of these panels can be modified. The icon can be removed, the title and stuff. What we do is we take out the title and the icon, and we make the text a little bit larger, and the FAQ introduction becomes that text with a read more link, although the entire panel itself can be clickable. So that's another way of rendering FAQs. Now, there's also, if I go to the first time buyer page, there's an icon list. So we can render FAQs as what we call an icon list, which is a bunch of icons and things like that. In fact, there's about 5 or 6 different ways to register render these FAQs on your site. Now, to put them on your site, there's 2 ways of doing so, and that's shortcode, which is just a little snippet of code surrounded by brackets. So it's BM_accordion or BM_FAQ and a string of text. And you can copy those from our FAQs. They're a little bit complex and a little bit more difficult to use. But FAQs are normally used on sort of your evergreen pages, so your primary pages here and so on. Your website is shipped, right, with all these panels appropriated, so they're in the right spot where they need to be. However, you might want to change them, you might want to ship them around, you might want to do all sorts of stuff. Now, if you wanted to remove certain FAQs from certain categories, or create brand new categories, by the way, that are specific to a certain location on your website, you can do that. And it's all predicated, like before, on the category for which the FAQ is assigned. So you want to create a category and call it luxury cars. So all your posts that relate to luxury cars, not that you're going to do that, go into that specific category, and you can maybe use that on your auto page and so on. Now, in fact, while I'm talking about auto, let's have a look at just auto here. I'm going to have a look at a few of the FAQs here. I just want to show you, because this is for our existing guys, that this is another panel of basic FAQs, but these don't have a read more. Why not? Okay, there's 2 types of FAQs. One's called a website FAQ, and the other is a Yabba FAQ. And from within Yabba, you can create these. I'm not even going to talk about them. I don't think anybody's ever really gone through and done anything. So how do we include these FAQs then on our website? How do we manufacture these? So I've loaded up Elementor here in the back. So when you go and modify your page, or you want to move something or delete something, you just open it up in Elementor, and there's a big block here. This is called BM Website FAQ. And you'll note here that there's an option to define the style, which is applied to the accordion. I'm not going to talk about styles now, because it's not important, and the FAQs. So rather than delete anything, because I'm not going to remember what I deleted, I'll add something. I'm going to add private lending, because we just added a post to that. I'm going to add private lending, publish that, and that private lending FAQ that we previously created, there it is, demo test FAQ, now it is included in that stack. Now, I don't want that in there. That's not relevant to the page we're on, so that gets removed. So how do you put these on the page? Okay, how do you get these there? You search FAQ from within the Elementor block menu, and there's BM Website FAQs and BM Yabba FAQs. I'm going to pull in BM Website FAQs into there. It's a brand new FAQ, which I'm going to delete in a moment. And I'm just going to add what's one that's got at least 3 or 4 panels? So I'll pull up home loan types. I have no idea what's in that panel. There you go. Low doc, construction, fixed, variable, interest only, types of home loans, basic variable, and bridging loans, and so on. Now you'd want a heading for that, and so on. You can just copy a heading and paste it underneath, and so on. I'm going to remove that, so right select and delete, and I'll just publish that so it doesn't change. Adding these FAQ blocks to your website are extremely easy to do, guys. Right, again, you just search BM website FAQ, or just FAQ, drag it onto your page wherever you want it, and add the appropriate categories that you wish to add. And that could be any number of categories. And they work really well in the equipment space, by the way, in the business space, where there's a whole bunch of different, there it is there. So that's populated, you've got the gap there. And they're all the FAQs that are assigned to those categories there. So once again, I'm going to delete that little fella and publish. So you can put these on any page, anywhere on your website in any way, right? It's really, really easy to do. Not that you will have a requirement. Your focus is creating this content. You're going to log in here. You're going to add content, and we've got an FAQ in there that I'm just going to, I won't actually delete it. I'm just going to leave it in there, and I'll unpublish it or save it as a draft. So when you take delivery of a website, that FAQ will be there, because we migrate the database from this system, the one I'm looking at right now, so that will be present. So that's one you can play with and just have a look at, and sort of in order to learn how the system works. So yeah, again, your focus should just be creating content. Just add a post, create a tile, a slug, add a featured image as I did before. Again, that information will be in our FAQs if it's not already, and that's that. So it's probably time just to sort of rant about this a little bit, and you'll find that the FAQs are everywhere. I think in total there's about 60 blocks of FAQs positioned over your website. They kind of are everywhere. The frequently asked questions for construction loans, home and land packages, and so on, they're kind of everywhere. And they have to be, right? This is something your competitors aren't doing. They don't have a knowledge base. They don't have a frequently asked questions resource. You do. You should leverage the features you've got available in your little backpack there. You've got an enormous capacity to create like this amazing, dynamic, living, breathing, incredible website. So really, again, all you have to do is create those posts and sort of link them appropriately. The focus of an internal funnel is creating funnel pathways. That is, what comes next? Where do we send people? And it's predicated on what we call choice architecture, which is giving someone the impression that they have choice on where they're going to go on a website. I think I talked about this once before. If we're on any single page of a website within 4 clicks, so one to the next page, to the next page, to the next page, to the next page, there are more options presented within just that. I think it's 6 clicks. There are more options on those 6 clicks, and more pathways that could be taken than there are grains of sand on the planet Earth. Like, it's literally trillions to the power of trillions to the power of trillions number of options. But we find that huge numbers, larger percentages, all follow exactly the same pathway because we've created that for them. And FAQ panels, when they're used strategically and deliberately, because sometimes we just include them as a resource, other times we use them because we want people to select something. And when they're used very deliberately, you know, the bulk of people on your page will follow the pathway that you want them to follow because you're always leading them somewhere. That's a website funnel. That conversion is our focus. It's our clear objective whenever we get someone on a page. So that's just the way it works. So Very quickly, from within Yabba, you do have these options here to create the FAQs. This is the FAQs we showed you on the auto page, which was somewhere. It's not important. That's the FAQs without a link to another page. You can obviously review a whole bunch of the FAQs you've created. Global FAQ styles. If you want to create styles for accordions, you can do so here. So they're the default hover colors. They no longer apply, by the way, as default hover colors. And the panel delay, the time it takes for a panel to open, the text fade, how long it takes for text page, is an option for virtually everything, including the icons that are used and so on. So you can completely tailor that, but the only color I'd have you, or I'd recommend you change, is the hover color. And someone asked the other day, they said, can you just put an option where I can just change that hover color and nothing else? And it'll make it easier in Yabba because I don't want to go through and create a full style. I thought about it and thought, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Where if we just want a hover color and maybe a selected color, which are two brand colors, two darker brand colors against the usually white text, which always looks better. So I probably will do that. But guys, the FAQ module is massive, right? It's massive. And it is so important. The reason you're getting more conversions on your website, the reason that people are visiting more pages, and the reason you have so much more success than all those knuckleheads that have those, the Squarespace and the GoDaddy sites and all those sorts of things, is because you have all these this architecture that's been deliberately built in order to create the pathways necessary to actually manufacture conversions. So that's that. Now, I've touched on what I want to touch on, and that's just to show you briefly how it works. I want people to know you can go into existing FAQs, add more categories, or remove categories, or create new categories, and so on. I want you to see how simple it was, should you choose to change things. And again, the reality is you probably will not. So that's that. If you've got any questions or inquiries, certainly give me a call. If you struggle with this in any respect, give me a call on 0400 777 300. Call or text at any time. Our website, beliefmedia.com.au, and our phone number, 1300 235 433. That's 1300 Belief. Although if you called it this week, it'll probably divert to voicemail or something, because we're upgrading the VoIP system, so which isn't ideal. All right, thanks guys. Take care. Bye bye.